Oh, hello. Hi. Welcome to the Hughes at 10, coming to you every night of lockdown because I said that I would do this every night of lockdown. I have a tendency to just do really stupid things or say I'm going to do something. And then I feel this huge obligation to actually do this stupid thing that I've said I'll do. Amongst which include going to every country in the world without flying and also winning an island in a game show. So these are the two positive things. The most stupid thing that I said I'll do over the last few years is probably in the January of 2017. I wrote to my MP, Stephen Twigg of West Derby, Liverpool. At that time, I'd been a member of Labour for 17 years. I'd actually helped select Stephen Twigg as our MP, got rid of the last guy who was useless. Now, Stephen Twigg kind of got parachuted in a little bit because he lost his seat in the 2005 election, probably a little bit unexpectedly. He's the guy who famously beat Michael Portillo in 1997, and he was only about like 24 years old or something. He was straight out of the NUS, the National Union of Students, and he beat a veteran Conservative minister, I think, at the time. Anyway, so yeah, I wrote to him and said, "Listen, Steve, mate, I'm not happy about this activating Article 50 lark. If you vote with the Conservatives to activate Article 50 with no safeguards and no provisos and no amendments, nothing to set out a roadmap or to guarantee the rights of EU citizens living in the UK, over 3 million EU citizens living in the UK, and the British citizens living in the EU 27. If you don't guarantee their rights before doing this, then I will stand against you, or at least vote to guarantee their rights. I will stand against you in the next election." Oh, sorry, no, yeah, 2017. Thinking at the time, because the previous election had been 2015, that there wouldn't be another election until the far-flung, distant future year of 2020. Unfortunately for me, Theresa May, literally a couple months later, called the election, and I had to leave my said island in Panama because I said I would stand in the safest Labour seat in the country as an independent with literally no money. So I started the GoFundMe campaign. I raised about just over £700, 500 of which had to go to pay to stand. And then famously, if you don't get X many votes or percentage of the votes, you lose your deposit. So that's your deposit to stand, to stop frivolous people like Lord Buckethead from standing, and a man dressed as a dolphin who once got more votes than Nigel Farage in the election. And then there was a few hundred quid, which was on leaflets, because you get to send out leaflets to everyone. And what I should have done, instead of trying to get myself elected, just use the opportunity to send a pamphlet to every house in my constituency, basically spelling out what George Useless said today on Mar, which to just paraphrase it, it's going to be an absolute effing disaster. Sorry, YouTube doesn't like it if I swear within the first 5 minutes of a video. So I'm going to have to keep it clean until the time clocks up a little bit. and then I can let rip. Anyway, I lost, as you might have expected, by about 35,000 votes. But, I said that I'll do it, so I stupidly went and did it. But George Useless on, he's the environment minister or something. He was on Mar this morning, and basically, he said, so dairy, 35% tariffs. And he's like, well, it'll be fine. And but we have a lot of cheese coming over from France. We have a lot of dairy coming over from Denmark, and I suppose Ireland wasn't. I don't think Ireland was mentioned, but a load of our dairy comes from Ireland. And to that, he said, no, it's no problem, because since they're going to put a 35% tariff on our dairy products going out, we're going to put a tariff on goods coming in. So our milk and cheese, dairy products are going to be 35% more expensive. Yeah. And our farmers are going to be undercut by literally every other dairy farmer on the planet. Yeah. Oh. Makes sense. And then he went on to say, well, you know, we're probably going to be screwed over sheep or lamb, because lamb is one of our biggest exports, and for our farming, for the farming industry. And 48% is the highest tariff on a piece of lamb, depending on what cut it is, how it's prepared, etc. And that's every single farmer in the country, every single lamb farmer well and truly screwed. And it's going to be difficult for a lot of dairy farmers as well, especially ones that sell their produce to the EU. And then on top of that, you've got the fact that you need to buy seeds. You need to buy seeds from abroad, and there's going to be a tariff on them. There's all kinds of things that you just don't think about: machinery, farm machinery, and pesticides, herbicides, genocides, whatever the hell you need to farm. You can tell I'm not a farmer. It just seems to me a pretty bad business decision to decide to say, hey, half of our customers, we don't want your custom anymore. We don't need you. When I think that we might possibly need them a bit more than they need us. Hashtag just saying. So I'm just going to say hello to everybody who said hello. So, wow, there's quite a few people. David, hello. Phil is there. Tom is there. Attila, hi Attila. John Barleycorn, Phil again, Ascended, Paul Mason, Chris, hi Chris, John O'Sullivan, Tom Monk, Sugar Free, hello, and Darren Christian, hello. There's a musician guitarist named Buckethead who is tremendous. I recommend to everyone. Guy has about 400 or so albums. Is that Buckethead who played for a little while with Axl Rose when Guns N' Roses was basically Axl Rose, and we were all waiting for Chinese democracy to come out? And he had a man on stage with him who wore a KFC bucket on his head. Was that him? And we've got Charlie Nelson saying, I really liked your Foundations of Geopolitics video. Pissed my pants with laughter. Cheers, Charlie. If you want to watch that video, I think it's called the Foundations of Geopolitics, but it was part of my 2017 Charlie Brooker ripoff that I did at the end of 2017 to give my view of the year. Should have asked for a recount. The election was stolen. So that's something else I need to address tonight, is the fact that Trump has admitted that Biden won. He has said Biden won, but blah, 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 blah. But everyone's blanked out the rest. There's so many people on Twitter that just sort of scratched it out and just went, Biden won. That's all you need to know. He knows Biden won. We know Biden won, and he's won by about 5 million votes. I mean, come on. If it had been 500, like in the 2000 election, in the 2000 election, he might have a bit of a point, but he's just so far and away the winner. And he's won 306 seats, which back in 2016 was apparently a landslide. You want to see a landslide? Have a look at the 1980 map for Ronald Reagan. It's terrifying. Okay, it's all Starmer's fault, according to the Corbynistas. Yeah, Corbynistas, they're a bit mad, aren't they? And they do this thing now on Twitter where they just go, "You're bald," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know. That's where I wear a hat." Yeah, but you haven't got as much hair in your head as you used to. Loser. And you're like, you are madly in love with a 70-year-old man with the charisma of a wet fart. And I don't know what to say. I can't add anything to that. That's okay. I wish I had more hair on my head, but it's all right. I've got it around my chin. 35,000. Tom Monk is saying a mere pittance. I think I got about 300 votes. One of them was me. One of them was my mum. One of them was my dad, I think. Does the common travel policy extend to food and drink? I worried about not having any Guinness after Brexit. I think Guinness is brewed under license in the UK. I don't think it all comes from Dublin, so you might be all right. There's quite a few drinks. I think they just did this sort of like in the 80s and 90s. Like I just got Foster's, and I don't know if Carlsberg did it. So there's two Carlsbergs, and there's Carlsberg Export, which is brewed in Denmark, and then there's Carlsberg that's brewed just Carlsberg, and I think that's brewed in the UK. I think under license. But what I think they did was they took like these brands that weren't doing very well. I'm trying to think of them now. Like there's 80s brands. I was gonna say Newcastle Ale, but obviously that's still a thing. They basically took them and just rebranded them and used the same equipment and the same brewing process. Steve says hi, Steve. I think you might have had it all but correct with genocide. Actually, yeah, sugar-free. It might be going that way. Tom Monk says, "What do you think about Cummings getting the boot?" Well, my first instinct is yes. My second instinct is it's a big fake, and he's actually just going to be running things from behind the scenes because he's got on his phone. He's looked at his stats. I imagine he looks at his phone with one eyebrow up like this, right? And he goes, oh, I'm really unpopular. I'm less popular than scurvy. Oh, I'll have to do something about this. So he just scutters away to the shadows, and he's now hiding behind a rock, and he's just shouting things at Boris Johnson. Oi, do this. And Boris goes, yes, sir. Yes, Dom. I will do anything you say. Oh, Dom. However, to counter to that, which is the fact that Hancock, our esteemed health minister, has agreed to go on Gmtv tomorrow with Piers Morgan. Now, Piers Morgan is one of the worst human beings ever. I don't need to go on, just ever. However, he is right about the government's response to COVID-19 being absolutely appalling. So, again, stop the clock, being right twice a day. And if someone is giving ministers shit for this, then that's a good thing. So the fact that Hancock has said he'll go on GMTV tomorrow, whether he actually does or not is another matter, but he said he would. And that makes me feel like the influence of Cummings has been diminished somewhat. So even if he is secretly shouting things from the sidelines, his power has been diminished a little bit, because he obviously wasn't allowing people to go on GMTV and make an absolute arse of themselves, as Matt Hancock's going to do tomorrow. The third thing I thought is like, you dirty bastards, because Brexit is a lot his fault. It's not all his fault. It's also the fault of God. There's a cavalcade of stars that are actually made of shit, which is the Brexit All Stars. Brexit couldn't have happened had it not been for this, the planet aligning. And you can go back to Len McCluskey overriding David Miliband's bid for leadership of the Labour Party. You can look at Ed Miliband changing the rules so that you could pay £3 and vote for who will be leader of Labour. You can point your finger at the Lib Dems for propping up the Tories, a poison chalice if ever there was one. You can put your finger at Russell Brand for telling young people not to bother registering to vote in 2015 until it was too late. You can point your finger, obviously, Boris Johnson, Farage, Wigmore, Banks, Gove, Cummings, all that lot, the Brexit bunch who pushed all these lies and just utter bullshit on the nation. You can blame Theresa May for saying, "Oh, we want out of the customs union, we want out of the single market," when no one mentioned that before. And you can blame Jeremy Corbyn for not putting up enough of a fight against Boris Johnson's Brexit and Nigel Farage's Brexit, and not providing a particularly good opposition for many years. So there's a lot of people to blame, but Cummings, he was kind of integral to it all because he was well in with the Cambridge Analytica lot who were illegally using people's data to micro-target them with Facebook ads, which weren't true and violated elections. When you stand for election, you get like a big thing telling you what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. Like, you're not allowed to put flyers up on lampposts, for instance. because that's something that I wanted to do. I was thinking, wow, you're not allowed to put flyers on lampposts, but you can literally put posts on people's Facebook walls that aren't true to lead them to a website that you deny. The link there is denied for many years until it finally comes to light. And that's all fine. That's all absolutely fine and dandy. But putting a leaflet on a lamppost outside your local butcher saying they're going to have trouble getting lamb after this, whatever, was a big no. So my third thing for Cummings is he's caused this huge. He's caused the end of the United Kingdom. Let's face it, the United Kingdom's done for. Scotland's going to get independence in the next few years. This is it. It's the end game. Britain's never going to go back into the EU as Britain. It'll go back as Scotland, and then Wales, and then England eventually, and Ireland will be reunited. What I can see happening in Ireland actually is an extension of the Good Friday Agreement. But what's going to happen is they'll have their own assembly, which is separate from the Irish assembly. So it's kind of a federated state of the Republic of Ireland. And if you are from there, if you wish to have a shit blue British passport that allows you to go to Aberystwyth and pretty much nowhere else in the world, you can. You can have a British passport and you can say you're British. So it's kind of like the situation we have now, but the other way around, where you can be from Northern Ireland and you can say I'm Irish and have an Irish passport and the UK passport if you want to. But the actual leadership at the end of the day is from Westminster, so it's part of the sovereign state of the United Kingdom. It'll move across to being the sovereign state of the Republic of Ireland, but it'll have its own independence. It'll be like the autonomous region of 6 counties of Ulster, not all of them in brackets. But yeah, so I think that Dominic Cummings should have stuck around in a way to just take the blame for everything instead of hiding perhaps at his mum and dad's farm up the road from here. That's a question. Maybe I should find out where he's run away to. That could be interesting. But I think he should have stayed there to face the music for all the shit that's going to come in January, unless we get an extension, which is slowly bubbling up from the surface. People think extension. And with Cummings, with Johnson being out of action for the next 2 weeks, that could well happen. Okay, so I'm just going to dive back into your messages here. So Sugarfree says hello, and James Folks says hello. Arnold, what's our best case scenario after Brexit? I'm remaining myself and looking for silver linings. Best case scenario is that Scotland gets independence in the next 2 years, which it will do, and then before the next election, essentially. And then I don't know, actually, because if they do that, then the Tories are just going to be really dominant. But Labour's votes in Scotland are gone. They are gone. They're out of here. Forget about it. So Scotland can never, Labour can never get into power again unless they have a coalition with the SNP. So let's say Scotland has these elections next year. They push for a referendum in 2022, which goes through at something like 63%. For independence. I think it could be that high, especially if the British economy has tanked and the idea of them joining the euro seems a lot more appealing. Then maybe if, obviously, we'll need a long transition to extricate everything from each other, from England and Wales, move Scotland away. So maybe if in the next election in 2024, we could have a meaningful coalition of Labour, SNP, Lib Dem and Greens. And the idea is you don't stand in each other's territories. Okay, so if you are the second, if you're the runner-up in maybe the last election, right? So if you came second in the last election, then you get to put a candidate in that seat. If you didn't come second, if the Lib Dems, they get to put a candidate in that seat. The problem here is that it's in the Labour Party's constitution that they have to field a candidate, I think, in every single constituency in Great Britain, not Northern Ireland, but just the island of Great Britain. And if that's the case, and I think it is, that makes it a bit difficult to get this coalition together. But that's something that certainly needs to be done, because it seems a bit ridiculous that you've got the sort of the Conservative Party who take up 50% of the votes. So I know it's 43%, but let's just say 50% of the votes are right wing, 50% are left wing, and you've got one party who's representing the right, and you've got four parties who are representing the left in the first past the post system. Just get us past that election. Get a coalition in place, and that coalition could then bring in proportional representation, and then everyone's vote will count no matter where you live. It seems ridiculous to me that you can be a Conservative, and I think for the Conservatives they only need like 15,000 votes per Conservative MP. It's something ridiculously low like that, whereas for the Green Party it's something like 800,000 votes per MP. It might be even more than that. I think they've only got one, haven't they? Clive and Lucas. Happy Sunday from New York City. Hello, George Howard in New York. Hello. Tom Monk says, yeah, that's the Buckethead who plays with GNR. I saw him at Leeds Festival in 2002 with Axl Rose, and I watched the footage. I filmed it on my camera, and the next day, this is the most awesome thing ever, a woman shouted at me and said, excuse me, are you Graham? And she was American. I turned around, and it was Kim Deal from the Pixies and the Breeders. And I was like, oh my God, it's Kim Deal. And she said, Graham, hi, someone's told me that you got footage from the GNR gig last night. I'd love to watch it. So we sat down in the field together, me and Kim Deal, watching GNR for the last night, because she missed it because she didn't get into the festival in time. So there you go. Great days. Subsequent tweet said, I conclude nothing. Yeah, this is about Trump. Yeah, I concede nothing. Sorry, he also concludes nothing. But he's not conceding. But he knows the guy's an idiot, but he's not a complete idiot. He's not a drooling simpleton. He's just incredibly entitled and arrogant and stupid in that way. But he does know that as soon as he's out of office, he loses all his legal protections. So he's fucked. So that's why he's not going to concede. And he probably won't. He'll probably try and stay in the White House as long as he can. But I'm so glad that the margin is so big for Biden, with 306 electoral college seats, with over 5 million more in the overall popular vote. It's insurmountable, and no amount of frivolous legal cases are going to get them through. I believe Trump was dumped by some of his legal representatives. It might have been in Pennsylvania. Someone will correct me, I'm sure. But they actually dumped him because one of the things is, if you're your law practice in America or anywhere really, and you put frivolous cases before a judge where you say, well, they wouldn't allow people to watch the count, and the judge said, well, are your people watching the count right now? He's like, yes, they're watching the count. I think the actual quote was, that's not the case, or something like that. It was like a double negative. And it was like, so they are. There's people, your people are in there now watching so what's your point? Well, we can't go close enough, and we can't hear what the election, the people counting, we can't hear what they're saying. And the judge is like, what, you want to give them all microphones? What are you talking about? And they threw them out. And what happens if you're a legal firm? The courts take a very dim view of having their time wasted by these frivolous lawsuits. And so they refuse to take cases anymore from that lawsuit. They can be struck off. They can't. They could be in a situation where they would be told they couldn't. Striking off's to do with medicine, isn't it? Or maybe it's to do with lawyers as well. But basically they can be told that they can't bring cases to that court anymore. Which ruins them as a business. So Trump, the famous business ruiner, the guy who just goes around bankrupting businesses left, right, and center, setting up black universities and selling steaks. Who would have thought he was a con man? But yeah, it's a bit of a poison chalice to represent Trump at the moment, because he's got no case. He's got no case. Except I always felt it was a bit childish when the gammon or the MAGA lot was said, "Oh, liberal tears, oh, liberal tears." But I've got to say, it was quite satisfying watching a lot of people cry about Trump losing. I'm sorry. I know that probably guarantees me a one-way ticket to hell, but whatever. Mark Robson said, Guinness closed their London brewery many years ago. Okay, well, yeah, because that would make sense, because why would you be bothered about having to make it in Britain when you could just make it in Ireland and bring it across? No problem. Sugar Free says they've got to get the raw material and raw ingredients in. That's very true. Steve Mail says, is this Bojo's new way of hiding in the fridge? It might well be. I mean, what is it? The thing is, he's already had it, and I've already had it, but I still wear a mask when I go out because I don't know. I don't know if I can get it again. I don't know if I can still spread it. I just don't know. So I wear a mask. And I'm happy to lock down. I'm happy to abide by the social distancing rules and not have parties. I mean, and not go abroad. This is the longest I've ever gone in my life without having a party or going abroad, like ever. Well, maybe since I was a child. No, even when I was a child, I had birthday parties, for Christ's sake. This has been it's been a nightmare. But having said that, I don't want people to die of COVID because of me. So I'm going to do what I can to try and keep everyone safe. Anyway, so much for the million people who are supposed to be protesting. Ha, says Chris Kopak. Yeah, you're absolutely right, mate. A million march. The hashtag yesterday was Million MAGA March, which got hijacked by K-pop fans who just put pictures of pancakes on, and then it got changed to the Trump March or something. And it was like, yeah, because a million people didn't turn up. It was like a few thousand. It was really pathetic. Not quite as pathetic as the Kansas gig that Trump did in the summer, but getting there. Right, there's also Nixon's 1972 map. Yeah, again, if you look at Nixon's 1972 victory, it was a bit of a landslide, which is, looking back now, you're like, what were you thinking, America? But at least people went off Nixon very quickly. There were very few people after he had been deposed, impeached and pardoned, basically, or threatened with impeachment and pardoned. There were very few people who would rush to his defense. Plum says it's a lager, not a tune. Okay. Gove is a soft fruit champion of 2020. Okay. Steve says Cummings, they're all going to disappear next year. I bet. Leave it to others to deal with Brexit. Yeah, that's exactly what the kind of people these people are. The Brexiteers and all the Trumpers. They will make a mess and leave it for someone else to clean up. There's a great quote from The End of the Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, where it talks about Daisy and her husband, whose name escapes me, and it basically says that they were careless people. They just drifted through life, making disasters happening, making terrible things happen, and just expected everyone else to clean up their mess, essentially. And it's really powerful because there's so many people. I think there's a class of people that just think that way, and I think we should start maybe looking at class a bit differently. Maybe it's not about economics. Maybe it's about morality. Maybe it's about the kind of things that you'll look at when you see a horrible story like the story a few weeks ago about the refugees who were coming across the English Channel. Their boat capsized, and I think there were 3 people died, and one of them was a child. One of them was a baby. And this news is on Facebook or whatever, and people are putting laughing emoticons about it, about people dying, and that's a different class of person. That's that. Maybe we should have people who care and sociopaths, and then that's a distinction. So we could have people who care who are rich, and that, Marcus Rashford, the Mail had a pop at him today. How dare he do things for charity when he's rich? How dare he? This is the same paper that a few years ago were going, oh wow, isn't David Beckham amazing for doing all this stuff for charity? Now suddenly it's, oh my God, rich people can't do things for poor kids. It makes me sick. And you're like, okay, so let's say there's a class which is rich people who care, and then there's a class of poor people who care, or and then you could have the middle class in between. No one wants to see themselves as poor. So let's just say There's the rich, and then everyone else. That's a lot easier. And then on the other side, you've got the rich who just don't give a shit. The rich sociopaths and the poor sociopaths. No, not poor. The not rich sociopaths. Yeah, rich and not rich. Yeah, okay, I've got it sorted now. There's 4 classes of people, and I don't want to be in those classes over there. And so if you're going to move up a class, you want to either go across to the side that's nice, or you want to go up, economically, which makes sense because the people on the other side, I think, are a lot more obsessed with wealth and power and all that kind of stuff for their own ends. They're not doing it for you or me or the man on the street. They're doing it to line their own pockets with Britain's cash. John says, tell the truth, your mum and dad voted 150 times each. How did you know? He must have been watching me. Perhaps Cummings is Johnson's male version of a dominatrix. Yes, perhaps Cummings is Johnson's Dom. Arnold Lane says he's banished to Epsilon 5 forever. Yeah, God, that'd be great, wouldn't it? Byberg says, more podcasts, please. Because of COVID, I'm low on pub-related experiences. Well, so am I. Okay. It's tough enough doing these every night. I don't know if I've got time to do a podcast as well, because the thing with the podcasts and why I've slowly become more and more sporadic is just they take ages to edit, especially when I'm doing stuff on Zoom and stuff, because Zoom's not that great. It's supposed to go to the person who's speaking. It doesn't always do that, and it can be quite glitchy. So I make my own home copy with my own home sound and my own home camera, but they go out of sync because of the way and it goes on for an hour. You imagine like a feature film. Okay, I mean, obviously they've got different scenes and stuff like that, but it takes months to edit a feature film, and that's usually between 90 minutes and 120 minutes. I'm doing a 60-minute podcast, and it's like I can't spend my life doing this. If I got paid, let's say £1,000 for each podcast that I did, well, I'll be making hundreds of them. I'll be quitting. But the fact is, I'm not. And Google pay you £1 for every 1,000 views you get on a video. So if you want to see how much money I've made from YouTube this month, just go and have a look at my view count. It's not good. Patrick says something fake about Cummings. Why walk out the front door for number 10 with the cameras when they don't have another door? Because Patrick, Cummings is a big flouncer. He just flounces. He goes, oh, look at me. It's not about me. It's all about me. Someone made this joke about the psychopaths, didn't they? Also, good serial killers. Good serial killers are ones that you don't know about. The bad serial killers are the ones who go, look at me, and they get caught. Well, it seems like spads are very similar. The good ones, you just don't know. You just never hear of them. They don't make the story about them. It makes me think of, remember when Angus Deaton used to do Have I Got News For You? And then he became the news story. And they said, we can't have him as our presenter because the news is about him. Or the last episode he did when Ian Hislop went to town on him was a thing of rare and exquisite beauty, I tell you. Hang on. The government is letting an MP onto GMTV. Yes, Donald. Apparently, Matt Hancock is going to be on GMTV tomorrow morning to be grilled by Piers Morgan. And that should be good. And Susanna Reid is going to sit there and just try and get a word in edgeways, as she always does. I don't know how she puts up with it. I really don't. I'm so in awe of Susanna Reid having to put up with Piers, as almost says Piers Corbyn then, Piers Morgan every day, every morning. I can't imagine waking up and having to sit there in a studio. Oh, I'll go mad. Can everyone do me a favour? Everyone who's watching, can they just give me a quick like? So just hit on the thumb up, and then that'll knock me up. Excuse me. That will help my analytics or something. That would be great. Thank you. Something fake about the Cummings thing. Oh yeah, I said that. If no Guinness, then try Scottish Belhaven Black. Okay, I might try that on St. Patrick's Day. That sounds a bit wrong. Maybe I'll have that on Burns night. Newcastle, drop an atom bomb on Piers Morgan. Is that what he said? Hang on, what? Sorry, is that what Newcastle said to Piers Morgan? Okay. Chubai, no, we can't drop an atom bomb on him. It'll kill loads of other people. Don't do that. Don't do that. It's a terrible idea. Maybe if you want to put them in the middle of the Pacific. No, because then you ruin all the fish. Don't do that. Just don't do it. We are exporter of barley. Suspected a lot of it is malted. It's not just farmers losing out. Yeah, Chubai, that was actually mentioned on Mar this morning. George Useless specifically mentioned lamb and barley. Basically, lamb farmers, barley farmers, they're going out of business in 2 months' time. There's also the question of what's going to replace the common agricultural policy, the money that they get from that. I mean, it's not very profitable being a farmer without those subsidies from the cap. It's not worth your while unless you're an American mega farm. One of the things that the farmer that I was speaking to when I was down in Wales last year, he was saying what will happen is it will go underground, what he called underground, which is basically everything will be shut away in barns and massive barns, and these animals will never see the light of day. All the sheep will just be in rows, just eating and not moving, because we just need the units, and there'll be no more green fields all the way up a mountain, you know, the sheep all over it. That's just not going to happen anymore. It's got to be intensive mass farming in order to make enough money. Anyway, Chris Kopak says he got chased down by a reporter. Haha. Matt Hancock always looks like an animal caught in headlights. Yes, he does. He looks like a bewildered school child, doesn't he? Or maybe one of those body swap comedies, you know, where like Big or vice versa, where there's a child and then they get given a man's body and they're like, oh, this is so weird. I'm now a man, but I have the brain of a child. Basically, that's Matt Hancock. It's a hoax, someone says. Oh my God, there's so many messages. I've just gone back. Oh, I just went forward to see how many I had waiting. Oh, Scotland. We're talking about Scotland there. Cummings' departure. Hancock going on GMB. One that there's a big clear out before a volte-face to effectively cancelling Brexit. I think it might be. Volte-face, sorry. Daffy said, can't Scotland use some old law to free themselves? Why would a country tie themselves like this? Scotland can free itself. I mean, it will, because if the people want it, it's unfair in a democracy to say you can't have another vote. They keep saying it was once in a lifetime. It was once in a lifetime. No, it wasn't. Nobody said it was once in a lifetime, and that was never put on the statute books. That was never put into legislation that it had to be once in a lifetime. And things have changed. Things have massively changed. You can't say, oh well, you know, it's like someone is in court because they've been caught robbing, and they're told, okay, I'm going to let you off because you haven't got enough evidence, but don't do it again. And then they get caught robbing again, and they said, but you said last time that I didn't do it. And you're like, yeah, but that was last time. Things have changed. You've robbed again, so we're going to put you on trial again. It works. You change the rules, you change the system, you smash up the constitution of the United Kingdom, you drag Scotland against its will, 63% voted to stay in the EU, you drag an entire nation not of its own volition out of the EU, which is incredibly profitable for Scotland to be in. I'm sorry, but if the EU dragged Scotland against its will out of the UK, how would we feel about that? Right. Hope so as a Yorkshireman living in Glasgow. Oh, yeah. Isn't there an episode of Star Trek TNG that predicts island reunification in 2024? Darren, there is an episode of Star Trek in which they do mention something like that, but I know it was censored in the United Kingdom because it basically supported they interpreted it or whatever as support for the IRA. So either that episode wasn't aired or they censored it, which is a bit like in the southern states of America when the episode in 1967, I think, of the original series, the first interracial kiss on American television was Captain Kirk and Uhura. And a lot of the syndicate TV shows wouldn't show that episode, or they cut that scene out where they kissed because that was really, really bad. I'd like to point out it was about 400 years after Shakespeare wrote Othello, in which a black guy marries a white woman. But no, don't worry about that. You know, just get with the program, America. Come on. But yeah, I think that episode got censored in the UK. That's really interesting. We should investigate. Someone should investigate. I'm sure there's some Trekkies out there who can put me right. Strange and stubble, more like. Is that me? Could Scotland put a call into Mel Gibson? Well, I like that. I think it's like a Frankie Boyle joke about when Mel Gibson was cast to play Braveheart, and they're like, he can't play William Wallace. He's not Scottish. He's Australian. How can he be? And now look at him. He's an alcoholic, wife-beating, racist, anti-Semite. He's perfect. Yeah, anyway, it's funnier when Frankie Boyle does it. Doesn't Westminster have to give Scotland permission to have another referendum on independence? Why would they do that now? Well, yeah, Tom, they do. But next year is going to be the Scottish the Scottish parliamentary elections. And it's going to be a whitewash for the SNP. The SNP are going to storm it. And with a mandate like that, if they win like pretty much every constituency in Scotland, the international community will put pressure. The EU, the UN, NATO, pretty much everyone, especially Biden in America, will say, hang on, mate, these people have just voted overwhelmingly for the party that says it wants to have another referendum. You've got to give them another referendum. Otherwise, what's the point of having democracy? We don't do this with parliaments. We don't say, oh, you voted for that parliament in 2015. You've got to stick with it for a generation, because things move very fast in politics. I think that 5 years is quite a long time to have between elections, but that's the way it is. Obviously, we've had 3 elections in the last 5 years, but that's more to do with Tory ineptitude more than anything else. Foul Cameron, yeah, David Cameron. I forgot to mention him, didn't I? He put the referendum into the manifesto in 2015, thinking that they were going to go into another coalition with the Lib Dems, and the Lib Dems will say we don't want it, and then they'll go, oh, the Lib Dems wouldn't let us do this thing that we really, really wanted to do, because he didn't really want to do it. And then he led such a lackluster campaign where people actively voted, lifelong Labour supporters voted against staying in the EU because for them, it was a vote against David Cameron. Yeah, thanks for that, dickhead. And then he quit the next day. He went, I'm out of here. Because he knew what an absolute catastrophe it was going to be. The UK is a depressing place to be. It is, plum duff, it is, but I'm here. Okay, so, you know, that doesn't help, does it? Just think how things would be if the Messiah wasn't leading Labour. Yeah, if David Miliband had been made leader in 2010, then I've no doubt he would have won the 2015 election, and we would have had a Labour government till this year. Just sugar-free, lol. Thanks for the answer, man. Cheers, Arnold. Don't be downhearted. It will be okay somehow or other. I listen to Stuart Lee. The only thing that cheers me up. Yeah, Stuart Lee's funny as fuck as well. At least Trump is off. Trump, Cummings, Corbyn. Hey, it's been a good month for me. Stuart Lee is great. Who is Stuart Lee? Stuart Lee is one half of Lee and Herring, who are very funny. They used to do a comedy show in the morning called This Morning with Richard, Not Judy or something. And he went on to write the acclaimed musical, Jerry Springer the Musical, which got hounded out of town by people who thought it wasn't very funny for religious reasons, unfortunately. And he does stand up, and he's very, very funny. He's very, very. They just do this joke about meeting the director of the original Hulk film from like 2002, who was called Ang Lee, and makes a joke about he wouldn't like him when he was Ang Lee because it sounds a bit like angry. And I've seen him tell this joke about 17 times, and it's like, Stuart, it's not getting any funnier, mate. It's been 18 years, okay? Just stop it. Just kill that gag. Kill it. And just, have a rant at the Daily Mail instead. It's much more funnier. Okay, description of Brexit supporters club is superb. Biden doesn't need Trump to concede, but obviously it would obviously help. Well, there's the security implications, isn't there? Because he's not getting security briefings that he should have. And one of the things highlighted by the inquest into 9/11 said that the shortened period of time, the handover period, because it was from the beginning of December rather than the beginning of November, that led to security failures down the line. And obviously 9/11 was only 9 months after, or less than 9 months after Bush had taken office. So the fannying around in 2000 obviously one of the many, many contributing factors to that disaster. But certainly not the only one. Yeah, Trump has an estimated IQ of 87. I thought he had 45 on his hat the other day, and I thought that might have been his IQ. You'll love it. Look up Stuart Lee, Osama bin Laden. Debarred. There you go, George. You've got it. Thank you. Debarred. That was the word. I said struck off, but that's doctors, isn't it? No, debarred. Yeah. I wish Spitting Image had restarted 4 years ago. Yeah. Spitting Image is pretty funny. Stuart Lee is a brilliant man. I used to run a comedy club, and he was a totally sorted member of the human race. Hey, you used to run a comedy club. Let's do an online comedy club where people just rant about things for half an hour each night. Get in touch. Call me. Sugar Free said, how can we find out for sure if we had COVID? I was ill in March, but there were no tests then. Sugar Free, you should be able to go for an antibody test or apply for an antibody test online, and that should tell you if you've got any antibodies remaining from when you had COVID back in March. But we don't know how long the antibodies stay in any particular person. We think it's at least 3 months. Oh, sorry, I say we think like I'm a fucking scientist. I'm not. The information that I've read says 3 months. What I did, because my first COVID test said I was negative, and I was very, very sure that I was positive because my mum had it, my dad had it, and I'd lost my taste of sense and smell. Taste of sense? I'd lost my taste of sense. No, my sense of taste and my sense of smell. And so I had it again, and the second time I did the test, it came up positive. But I think you can get the antibody test. Also, in a couple of weeks' time, I'm actually, next week, I think next weekend I'm giving plasma, because that's something that they want you to do if you've had COVID. So there's anyone watching this who's had COVID or might have had COVID and usually gives blood, now's a good time to give plasma. And also because they take the blood out of you, they spin it around, they take the plasma out, and then they put the blood back in. You can have it done once a week if you want to. So if you want to get really virtue signaling, get on Instagram, photo of yourself with a bag of blood or whatever going, virtue signaling, look at me being virtuous, aren't I a bastard? Aren't I a do-gooder? Grrr. Saving people's lives, you bastards. Guys are saying, me too, Graham. I used to travel a lot. Yeah, man. I'm writing up my old blogs from Ginger Island, because there's a lot of stuff that I haven't put online, and there's a lot of stuff where the links have broken over the years. So I'm tidying it all up and getting it all sorted, and it's so making me want to go back. it's like Lost. It's like Lost. Got to go back, Kate. Got to go back. Really want to go back. About 5 a.m. today, the hashtag Million Move on March was trending. Oh, fantastic. Apparently, Lee Anderson MP for Ashfield tested positive and has been in contact with Blowjob. Yeah. The GOP has been making messes for the US for the Dems to clean up since at least Nixon. Yeah, they really have. It's what they do. I think they just try and get in, mess up as much stuff. This is the Republican Party in America, the grand old party, the GOP. Man, and the Tories do the same thing here. Do we never learn? I was like, oh, these guys are really good with the economy. They're really competent with the economy, and you just see the economic forecast going down. Same thing happened in the 90s. We had the recession in the 90s under John Major. I mean, just that's what they do. And so many of his cabinet got done for sleaze. I remember the Have I Got News For You, where they just had like a question mark over the photo of the cabinet, and it was like, and it would stop on one of them and go, right, what did they do? And it was like, well, they were shagging their nanny when blah, blah, blah was happening, and this, that. And then what was he do? Oh, well, he gave a load of money to his best mates for a building project that never happened. Okay, what did he do? And now we've got the same situation where we know all this stuff that they're doing, all this amazing grift or graft, lining their mates' pockets with so much taxpayers' money. It's outrageous. Giving Dido Harding, wife of a Tory MP, giving her £12 billion. Not her personally, but trusting her with £12 billion of taxpayers' money to do a test and trace system that didn't work, with no provisos on it. I think it's like when you do a contract for anything, you say, well, I'm going to buy this house, but if you burn the house down before I move into it, then this contract's null and void. They didn't do that. It's like, here you go, here's some money. And you know what? If you mess up really badly and it doesn't work, don't worry about it. Just keep the money. idiots. I like Stuart Lee. He's just a good man. You can spend the 15,000 years it takes him to get to the punchline, but every 15,000 years, with him, we'll be making other people's lives better. Yeah, Stuart Lee does tend to ramble. I don't. Obviously, I'm not a rambler in any way, shape, or form. Darren's saying, as a transplant patient, I'd like to thank you and people like you, Graham, for taking this virus seriously and for what you're doing, for doing what you can to protect others. As for the deniers, fuck you. Thank you, Darren. I appreciate that, and like I feel it's one of those things that is, if you want to think about things to make you feel better about humanity at the moment, is the fact that people give blood. They don't have to. They don't get paid for it, but they do it. They give blood. Thousands of people every week in this country just go along and give blood, and they save people's lives, and it's remarkable. And they don't shout about it. They don't go on social media and go, unless they're a knobhead like me. But yeah, it's something that there is that altruism in there that is completely altruistic. It's not. There's nothing there for you in that. You're not protecting your own. You're not having a fight because someone looked at your bird. You're not giving something so people go, oh wow, aren't you amazing and good? It's like anonymous, and it's just a good to do for society, and that gives me hope. That gives me hope. So Daily Mail, strong, soft, and thoroughly absorbent. Jesus Christ, yeah, the Daily Mail, the only thing it's good for is wiping your arse on. Priti Patel is a vile woman. She shouldn't be Home Secretary. Chris, I absolutely agree. I don't think she should be allowed out in public. I think that she should be behind bars, because she took, didn't, what was it? The deal that she did with the Israelis. So she was kicked out under Theresa May because she was trying to do a weapons deal. I think it was a weapons deal with the Israelis, with a private company, and she was having meetings with them, and it came out. I mean, like, why is she anywhere near power? She's obviously just in it for her own ends, and she's an evil, evil woman. That's just like mind-blowing. The first step in the fascist movement is a combination under an energetic leader and a number of men who possess more than the average share of leisure, brutality, and stupidity. Bertrand Russell. Bang on, mate. That's from Ascendant. That's a really good quote. Nothing pretty about Priti. It's true. Have you seen the gifs that people have done of her doing that march in front of the police, where someone did it where it was like her feet going around like this. Someone's done it on like a unicycle, and someone's done it in a like a full bottom half of a Dalek going past the police. I thought it was quite funny. Everyone else can start off. I totally respect Carrie Simmons. The woman is glorious. She manages to rule the country and still look after two toddlers at the same time. Hey, that joke that Ali G made to Posh Spice, where he said for comic relief, was it, or children in need, and he said, "Oh, how's your little one coming along? Is he stringing his sentences together yet?" She's like, "Yeah, he's doing really well." Like, and how about Brooklyn? Anyway, and that Mark Francois, is he really even human? No, he's a hobbit. I don't know if hobbits and humans can breed. They might be able to, but I think they're definitely separate species in the world of Lord of the Rings. He's an evil hobbit, like Smeagol. Cummings had his lanyard on when he left. Either number 10 security is seriously lax, or he still has access to number 10. He probably does. He's been in contempt of Parliament for like 2 years, hasn't he? Cummings. Right. I think I've got a load more messages coming through now. Whoa. Okay, I'm gonna have to skip through a load of messages here because I've only got 7 minutes left. Bring back Zig and Zag. Yes. My mother-in-law thinks you look sexy. Hi. Is she talking to me, or where exactly is Ginger Island? Can we visit? Yes, you can. Ginger Island is in Panama. It's in Bocas del Toro. Panama's great. You get 6 months on your passport when you go there, and the beer's pretty cheap, and they use US dollars, which is good. You can't go there right this moment because of COVID restrictions and everything, but hopefully next year I'll be heading back over there. I've got to fix up the house that's there because I haven't been there for a long time. Once I do that, yeah, I'll just be throwing it open. And anyone who wants to have an island to themselves for a few days or a week, you'll be able to go and do it. It's only 20 minutes from the airport. Not that I want you to fly there. I'd rather you take a boat. But there's an airport, domestic airport, just 20 minutes away by boat. It's not like out in the middle of nowhere. It's not like a rock in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, where Priti Patel wants to take refugees for some reason, because that's not completely horrible. I mean, that's treating refugees worse than we treat convicted paedophiles, because that's in Priti Patel's head. That's how bad refugees are. That's pretty rich, considering her parents were Indian heritage people from Uganda who fled under Idi Amin's regime. Just saying. This really winds me up. If only there's a vaccine to protect Britain from Brexit. Yeah, well, there should be, shouldn't there? Like education. She loves a beard that matches her own. Like it. Dr. John Campbell is an excellent source of medical opinion on COVID-19, calling it early too. Nurses seem politically plugged in to what average folk require of their faulty political systems. Yeah. It's Labour who are more responsible for the public finances, who are more responsible with the public finances than the Tories. Yeah, Chris is right about that. I mean, obviously, you say that to someone who's an ardent Tory and they'll say, yes, but the credit crunch of 2008. And you're like, but that was a worldwide disaster in which banks, which have been deregulated to such an extent that they could just give mortgages to anyone, no matter how bad their credit rating was, because the rules that stopped them doing that have been taken away. And people will continually push. There's the thing with children, isn't there, where they'll test the boundaries. So they'll keep pushing. And they want you to say stop. They actually want you, because if you don't, they don't feel like they're loved. They don't feel like you've got their best interests at heart. There's a part of them, and it might not be, obviously it's in their subconscious, but they want you to say, stop, that's too much. You've done something wrong there. So they know where the line is. Not knowing where the line is where people go off the rails. And these people in charge of this country and in charge of the United States, in charge of Brazil and other countries around the world, don't know where the line is. They've never been told in their life, I don't think, oi, stop it, there's a line, stop at the line. They've always just ran through it and everyone's applauded them. Well done, well done. And it reminds me of that episode of The Twilight Zone with Bill Murray in it when he was a little boy. He went on to be in Lost in Space and Babylon 5. And he plays this kid called Anthony who can make things happen. And everyone has to be really, really nice to him, or he'll point at them and literally they'll disappear, they'll evaporate or turn into a jack-in-the-box. And they'll say, that's a really good thing you did, Anthony. That's a really good thing you did, because they're all absolutely terrified of this kid. Kind of reminds me of Dominic Cummings in a way. Right. Telly Prime says Tom Monks with Hillary. Their own emails are the evidence. What? The Bush crime family, the Biden crime. Whoa, what? Okay, he's a bit mad. Let's do this. We got High's user. Bye. Okay. If there was ever less libraries in Wolverhampton than the credit crunch. If there were less libraries in Wolverhampton, then the credit crunch would never have happened. Okay, random. Any thoughts on Facebook not banning Bannon regarding his beheading remarks? Well, Facebook are they're on the side of evil. I mean, Facebook and Twitter, I don't understand why when I make a joke that's probably a little bit off color, like maybe just a little bit off color. I'm not threatening anyone with actual death. I'm just saying I wouldn't be too bothered if this person had not survived this thing, and I get binned off Twitter for a week, whereas the President of the United States can literally threaten millions of people with nuclear annihilation with weapons that he has access to. And Twitter are like, they put a little warning underneath. Yeah, don't listen to this, man. This is disputed. I'll just kick him off. Just kick him off. Kick him. And it's 88 million subscribers. Just kick him off. That's it. No, let them play on Parler for a bit until the fact that, if they can be dicks on Parler, we can be dicks at them on Parler and just ruin Parler for them. Okay, so Tom Webb, that was James O'Brien paraphrase, by the way. It probably sounded odd out of context. Yeah, I didn't really get what you were saying then. Wasn't Bill Murray in Devo? Whip it. Yes, very good. Oh my God. With pop culture references are coming thick and fast. Or had something to do with them. Yeah, I think he was. Or was it Barnes and Barnes who sung Fish Heads? I always get them mixed up. Chubai says, if Labour are to blame for the credit crunch, then Tories are to blame for COVID. Well, I think Tories are to blame for the result of COVID. Let's just say that, the mismanagement of the COVID crisis. There's only 60 people have died in Thailand, which has a population similar to the UK, and only 35 people have died in Vietnam, which has a population of 95.1 million, and the UK's population is 66.6. So yeah, about there. Anyway, we've got a census next year. What should we put down as our religion? Europeans. Oh yeah, that'd be good, wouldn't it? Like when we did with Jedis in 2001. I was there. God, I'm so old. Right, I'm off. It's 10 o'clock. I'm being called. I'm being called away. So thank you very much for joining me. I hope I did enough interaction with you all. Please give me a like on the like buttons before I sign off. And yeah, and if you could subscribe to my channel, that would be absolutely amazing, because I think a lot of people who don't like what I say about Corbyn have slung their hooks. Hey, look, he's gone. He's gone. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to go on about it anymore. He's out of here. I'll just continue to go on about Boris Johnson and the terrible, terrible Brexit regime in this country. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for all the likes, and I will see you again tomorrow for the Hughes at 10 at 10, I think. Yeah, usually. See you then. Bye.